And now we're going to discuss some more unsung heroes. Every once in a while, I do a segment on unsung heroes. Today, I want to talk about the Maccabees. Now, they are not exactly unsung heroes in the true sense, because it's true that they're sung about and talked about, but I don't know if they're as widely known as they should be. I think there are probably a lot of people who really don't know still a whole lot about the Maccabees, and I would like to comment a little bit about them now in connection with the season of Hanukkah. So let's go back to a prophecy in Daniel 11. We know that in the time of Antiochus Epiphanes, Jews were being persecuted, being oppressed, and many also were being seduced and lured into forsaking the covenant. And so it was a very serious time in the history of God's church, the Old Covenant congregation. It was in danger of being spiritually extinct, in danger of losing the Old Covenant. But a family of priests arose in the town of Modi'in, outside of Jerusalem. Jerusalem was the capital. In Jerusalem, there was great corruption. But outside, in the city of Modi'in, on the way towards Tel Aviv, where Tel Aviv is today, in that direction, there's a town of Modi'in, and there, a family of priests rallied the people together to remain faithful to the old covenant. And look what it says about them in Daniel 11:32. Let me read. Those who do wickedly, this is unfortunately too many people in that time. Those who do wickedly against the covenant, he shall corrupt with flattery, this dictator Antiochus. But the people who know their God shall be strong and carry out great exploits. And so here we're talking about, the Bible is prophesying about the Hasmoneans, as they're called, the Hasmonean dynasty, the family of the Maccabees. Now, there's various speculation as to where the term Maccabee comes from. Some think it comes from the term for hammer. Judah Maccabee, the great commander, is sometimes called Judah the Hammer. There's questions about what the name actually means. Some people believe it's an acronym for what you find in the book of Micah, Micha Mocha Be'ilim Adonai, who is like you among the gods, O Eternal. Micha Mocha Be'ilim Adonai, Maccabee. So they think it's an acronym. But whatever, it's the title that family took, the Hasmonean family. They took that title of Maccabee. And this family of priests managed to rally God's people together and to establish the first independent Jewish state in many years, and really the only one that survived for any significant length of time from that time until the 20th century. We start with Mattathias, the priest, the father of 5 children, Matityahu. The Jews in Europe pronounced his name Matisyahu, and there's a famous reggae singer today, a Hasidic Jew named Matisyahu. Some of you may have heard of him because he's pretty famous as a reggae singer. But anyway, Matityahu was the father of this family of 5, and he had a son named Eliezer, Simon, John, and Jonathan and Judah. He had 5 sons, and Judah, after Mattathias died, became the commander of the Maccabean revolt against Antiochus, and was a brilliant commander and very courageous. And under him, the Jews were successful in defeating this Syrian Hellenistic army from Syria, in defeating that army, and in liberating Jerusalem, and in cleansing the temple and rededicating the temple, and therefore we have the festival of Hanukkah. Now, the brothers, over time, although they had won that victory, fighting continued off and on, and so all of the brothers died violently, and finally we have Simon. I think he's the 3rd youngest son of the 5. But anyway, Simon wound up, for a period of time, establishing a dynasty that ruled over the Jews for about a century. And that was a dynasty of both kings and priests. And these were Aaronite priests who also became kings. Now, we understand that the king is supposed to be from David, the king is supposed to be from Judah. But so these people realized that what they were doing was just temporary, that what they were doing was a temporary situation where the king was also the priest, or I should put it another way around, where the priest was also a king, that they were doing this temporarily until such time as God would intervene and place a Davidic monarch over them. But these people represented a zealous remnant who led God's people and who, in effect, cleansed and rededicated God's people. And they represent the sixth era of the Old Covenant congregation. They are, in effect, the Philadelphia era. And maybe I should turn to Revelation 3 and just show how that ties in. I'm going to go to Revelation, the third chapter, where in Book of Revelation, where John is addressing the church at Philadelphia. And as I said, the Maccabees represent the Old Covenant version of the church of Philadelphia. So let's go to Revelation, the third chapter. I know your works. Say, I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it, for you have a little strength. See, this was a guerrilla band fighting a mighty army. You have a little strength, have kept my word. That's the key. They remain faithful to the old covenant. Have kept my word and have not denied my name. No, they wouldn't worship Antiochus as a god. They wouldn't forsake circumcision and the Sabbath and the dietary laws that he wanted them to forsake. Rather, they remained faithful to the old covenant, and with God's help, they overthrew Antiochus. I know your works. Say, I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. For you have a little strength and have kept my word and have not denied my name. Now, there have been some fame, that have been achieved by the Maccabees. For example, Handel, who wrote the famous oratorio, The Messiah, also wrote an oratorio in honor of the Maccabees. It's called Judas Maccabeus. And there's maybe a couple of songs that you may be familiar with from that oratorio. There's one where Simon sings, Arm, arm, ye brave. And then later on, Judah sings in the oratorio, Sound an alarm. So maybe some of you have heard that music. But in any case, many of you are aware of the Maccabees. But more of you should become aware of the Maccabees and study their example. And so in a certain respect, Mattathias and Judah and the other sons, these Maccabees, in some ways are unsung heroes. So I wanted to recognize them at this season of the year.